It's been a long time coming. In fact, it seems like it's taken forever. But the all-new next generation Ford Ranger is finally here. And we're here at the AARC Proving Ground in country Victoria to test it out on the various tracks. We've got a fleet of the new Rangers behind us, including the V6 turbo diesel engine, plus some of the carried over bi-turbo 4-cylinders in various specs and guises. The car behind me here is one fitted out with all the factory supported ARB accessories, including BP51 shocks, bull bar, spotlights, canopy, accessories in the back. It's really kitted out with everything you can need. But we're going to be driving the standard cars around the tracks here, and I can't wait to get dirty with them. Let's go out and get muddy.
We've been out here on the four-wheel drive tracks at the AARC at Anglesey, and it's been quite slippery and muddy and really a bit treacherous considering we're on road tyres. But these next-gen Rangers have handled it pretty easily, using the various drive modes in the four-wheel drive system, rear diff lock, low range. Got us through without any troubles. No one got stuck. Big difference on the drive down here and now just heading back to where we're staying tonight. Driving the V6s compared to the bi-turbo 4 is refinement. Yes, it's got more grunt and you really feel that in the mid-range when you've got your foot down, but it's the refinement right through the rev range. It's so much a smoother engine, smoother, quieter, and the torque is seamless all the way through the rev band, whereas the bi-turbo is quite peaky in the way it delivers its 500 Newton meters. Yeah, this has only got another 100 Newton meters at 600, but it's there all the way through the rev range, making this a much better vehicle for these lower speed off-road tracks, or if you're going to be towing something heavy like a caravan, a large boat, double horse float. This thing's really going to be the preferred engine for your touring off-roader. A couple of things I have noticed that are different driving this next-gen vehicle is as soon as I got in, I could feel that extra distance between myself and the front axle. So they've added the extra 50 mils of wheelbase between the firewall and the front axle basically, and you feel it sitting back here. When you turn the car, it's a little bit slower, a little bit less direct. The steering isn't as precise as it was in the previous generation. Whether or not that's just a perceived thing getting from the old car into the new one, it's hard to say. It's not a negative in any way, it was just that difference I felt straight up. As with the older Ranger, the steering is nicely weighted. It's light when you're off-roading or in a car park and all that sort of stuff. When you're on the highway, it firms up just enough to make it comfortable and give you the feedback you really want. The V6 diesel engine is much quieter than the inline 4-cylinder bi-turbo engine. Like any 4-cylinder diesel, that engine is quite harsh and raucous when you put your foot down. The V6 is much smoother, gets on with the job without making yourself heard so much. I never like to use the indicated fuel figures, as a full reference, but we're not filling up these cars. But driving the V6 and the inline 4 back to back here, very similar amounts of fuel being used. We're talking about 10.1 to 10.2 litres per 100 coming down the highway and through the back roads. So that's an indication. It's going to be really interesting to see what it's like when we get out and do some proper testing with these cars back to back, where we actually measure the amount of fuel we put in them against the kilometres. I think for that little bit of extra fuel use of a V6 compared to the performance and refinement you're getting, it's going to be money well spent. The more relaxed nature of this V6 diesel engine over the old 4-cylinder is going to make it a beautiful vehicle for long distance touring. On open roads like this, it just lopes along quite comfortably, revs are low, keeps the fuel economy down. It's really going to be a perfect vehicle for getting out and seeing the country, whether you're on outback dirt roads, highways like this, towing a caravan, no matter what you're doing. This engine is so well suited. And so far it seems really well matched to this 10-speed automatic transmission. The changes Ford has made to this transmission compared to what it was previously behind the bi-turbo seem to have worked. It's holding its gears nicely, it doesn't seem to be hunting or changing when we don't want it to. With the next gen all new Ford Ranger, Ford has gone to a lot of trouble to move a lot of their four-wheel drive controls away from the dials, which are still here with the buttons, but into the central screen. You've got a nice big screen here which gives you all the information you need. So let's have a close look into how you can work with all those things right here in front of you. So what you've got here in this big screen in the centre, your usual things with your temperature controls, your audio, Apple CarPlay, sat navigation, and you go into the vehicle settings for all your towing applications and settings for the display. But when you want to go off-road, get into your low range and terrain modes, you hit this off-road button. That gives you the vehicle down here with the settings, forward view camera, which shows you directly in front of the vehicle, which is great for those blind spots directly in front. Now, when you want to select the multi-terrain response, you just use the big dial here. Now this is still in two-wheel drive at the moment. I just turn that dial around a bit. Okay, it's in normal mode now. Eco, towing mode, slippery, so it's getting into the off-road settings now, which automatically selects four-wheel drive high range. Go one further, and we go to mud and ruts. So now it automatically has selected the rear diff lock and low range. So all those settings are quite easily to access just using the dial here with the buttons that are attached to it. Right there in your field of view, directly in front of you, and on the screen here you can also use the touch screen to access those same modes. It's all really quite simple once you get used to it all. Now, I hate to use the term game changer, but really this V6 Ranger is exactly that. There's nothing like it anymore except for the yet to be released V6 Amarok, which is going to be very similar as we know. But yeah, with the old Amarok disappearing, this car is really setting the standard now. And as a vehicle that is already Australia's best-selling four-wheel drive ute, this thing is only going to get better.